Eric, how do you sum up the defeat tonight?
That's a really disappointing one. For me personally, because I'm gutted for the players because they, to a man, have left everything on the pitch in a really difficult set of circumstances, and um, I think shown real character, a real personality, a real sense of togetherness. But ultimately, I think it was probably a stretch too far when you looked at how the balance of the second half went, and where we are at this point in time with the squad that we've got and the players that we've got available. So it's difficult to find the words in front of the players as to how to leave them with a sense of positivity from that, because they've come really close in really improbable circumstances, and they're an incredibly disappointed dressing room. So I can only give them the message to take the best from it and really try and grind through what is an immensely difficult period for us, and make sure that we come out the other side well.
Uh, can you just speak about do you just shake your head? It just seems like things keep one after another keep going wrong. What happened to the trap before the game, and then
Yeah,
Caden?
he's felt a muscle injury that perhaps he's got ahead of, maybe by taking himself out of the lineup. So fingers crossed that's the case. It was a very innocuous one very early on in the warm up. So yeah, but it does feel at the moment that what can go wrong will go wrong, and certainly Will is a player that almost the last player that you would want to lose at that point. And also at the point we're at, where we really need that experience and that leadership, and the personality traits that he has. So it was a big one to lose, but I thought Moses stepped into his shoes really, really well, at very, very short notice in very difficult circumstances. So if there's a silver lining to that situation, then that's certainly that.
What was the case with Caden?
Arcaden had a rib injury, but he was able to play through it, so no drama there.
Andy?
Eric, I understand that you guys are quite short-handed at the moment, but why did you not make a change until stoppage time?
Uh, Obviously, we haven't got huge depth on the bench in terms of recognised first team players, and I felt like that was a game where, in some senses, you could make an argument that fresh legs make a difference, but also the players were in the game, they were in the rhythm of having to defend, they were really dialed into what the situation was, and I think in some senses fresh legs isn't always the answer. Um, so yeah, that's the situation that we're in at the moment. We don't have the same depth that we were able to call on a month or so ago. So it's not the same situation. I can't pretend to have the same tools at our disposal late on in games to change, and that was obviously the rationale behind keeping us largely as we were to start the second half. So yeah, to an extent, I stand by that. I think those situations are it's immensely important that the players are really tuned into the situation, and I think to a man we were at that point, albeit you did feel like the tide had turned.
What do you say to them or do with another game coming in just 4 days?
You, you can only say one thing, and that's to be positive, to take the best from today, to be disappointed, to look in the mirror, but move forward in as constructive and pragmatic a way as we can. That is the only thing that can be said, and the only attitude that can be adopted at the moment. To think about it any other way would be ridiculous. So I feel like we've got a good group of staff that can certainly think that way, that can certainly look at the situation as objectively as possible, and hopefully that rubs off on the players. And there's no player that walks away from the situation feeling positive, feeling enthusiastic, but ultimately we have to find a way to approach Wednesday's game with a real level of enthusiasm. And I'll repeat, to think about it any other way would be really, really unhelpful.
DJ's been responsible for a few penalty kicks allowed this season, another one tonight. What do you say to a guy that's kind of finding himself in that spot a few times this year?
Yeah, of course, it's something that we've talked about with DJ, that real detailed approach to defending in the box. And yeah, that was costly for us. There's no way around it. There's no two ways about it. So again, that's one that he'll have to have a good look at. We'll have again a very open, honest conversation with him about those moments that they define games for us. And that I'm sure had a big bearing on it. So it's for him and us to have that difficult conversation, I suppose.
John?
We saw DJ playing sort of that right center back role that we've gotten used to seeing Kervin again. What did you think of his performance in that role tonight?
Yeah, there were certainly some positive elements to it in how he used the ball. It wasn't difficult to see at points the threat that they posed on that side. That is, I would say, irrespective of who they've been up against, their most dangerous side. So it was a difficult task for him and Caden to really stay on point and manage that for a very difficult 90 minutes there. So undoubtedly, both DJ and us as a staff will look back at that and be able to pull up many instances, I'm sure, where we'll talk to him from a coaching perspective and how he can improve and how he can get better. But also, he left everything on the pitch in very difficult circumstances. So that probably captures where I am at the moment. You have to find that fine balance between being critical, really pushing this small group that we've got very high standards, but recognizing that every one of those players is putting themselves or finding themselves in a difficult position. We in a collective are in a difficult position. So I could, in some senses, blindly hold them to standards that they've been held to over the course of the entire year without appreciating the context. But there has to be an element of that. That's the mature, sensible way to look at this situation, that it is very difficult from a context from a context perspective. So when I'm thinking about how I talk to the players, thinking about how I feedback to individuals, I have to take that into consideration. And of course, we don't want to lay excuses on the table. We are not that type of group, but to have that realistic view and that realistic take, and that be the tone of the conversations I have with individuals in the group, that's for me the only way to look at it.
You gave Rory his MLS debut tonight. What did he do to earn that opportunity tonight?
Rory's, he's a mature player. He's a player you can trust in those situations to play the game in the way in which you want it to be played. Unfortunately, he came on with bad timing, in a sense. The goal that immediately followed him coming onto the pitch was through not through his doing in any way. We're reliant on second team players to fill the bench at the moment. So obviously his debut has come as a consequence of that. But Rory is a great kid, brilliant to have around a building, a very capable player. So I'm pleased for him. It was a nice moment.
Eric, I know it's been challenging.
Sang Ben played off each other.
Sorry, Jerry.
Just what did you think of how Bongi and Sang Ben played off of each other?
Yeah, they had some really good moments together for sure. Obviously, they have a certain set of strengths. Bongi and Sangbin, they're going to be dangerous on the counter attack. They're going to want to run in behind. They obviously have a set of traits that mean you're not always going to be able to sustain attacks with them playing as a pair, but you are going to be able to attack quickly and in a direct way. And I think when they were at their best, we had some really good moments there. I think it was much tougher in the second half for us to have clean breakaways. We didn't sustain possession well. We didn't enter their final third and stay in their final third for lack of sort of consecutive passes and rhythm. So that of course was lacking. I don't think anyone could watch the game and say any different. But when they're at their best, they play off each other well, and they are a real threat for the opposition, as you saw in many moments in the first half in particular.
Andy, close us off, please.
Eric, it looked like you guys are having trouble clearing your lines at times. What did you feel like was the issue with that in the second half?
Yeah, I will say that was one thing that, irrespective of the game's difficulty, that was something we could certainly have done better. I think we were nowhere near as clean enough in clearing the boxes as we would want to be. And obviously that causes you problems. You end up defending for far longer than you want to defend. But again, I think in the circumstances, it's difficult to criticise a backline that were right at their limit physically, I would say, and everyone to a man is, from my perspective, able to walk away with their heads held high for effort and application and a desire to help us get over the line. Of course, you have question marks as to the level of quality with which we're able to do that for 90 minutes, but to an extent, that's going to be expected in that situation. So I can't be critical of guys that have gone to war for us and really tried to get us over the line. That's just the nature of where we are at the moment.
Great. Thank you. All good. Safe travels back.
Thanks, guys.
Eric.